Power, real power, is never loud. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need to be seen. And according to Niccolò Machiavelli, the most effective strategy of all is to be underestimated. Let them think you're soft. Let them think you're weak. Let them look at you and see someone forgettable. Because the moment they stop watching, you gain freedom. Freedom to move, to build, to strike. The underestimated are dangerous precisely because no one sees them coming. Machiavelli didn't believe in honor. He believed in results. And he understood something most people never will. Being feared is useful, but being dismissed is lethal. Why? Because it gives you access. It drops people's guard. It opens doors that would be locked to someone more obvious, more threatening, more seen. When people underestimate you, they make a fatal mistake. They stop preparing for your rise. And you? You study. You sharpen. You observe in silence while they reveal themselves, thinking you're no threat at all. They'll say too much, show too much, expose their vulnerabilities, because they think you're not even in the game. They think they're safe. But you're watching. And Machiavelli would smile at that. He believed it was far better to be strategic than sincere, not to wear your strength but to hide it behind a mask of passivity. Invisibility is a weapon. If used correctly, it's more powerful than intimidation. So if they don't fear you, good. Let them relax. Let them look the other way. Because when the time comes, they won't even know what hit them. The greatest victories are not won through confrontation, but through calculation. And nothing gives you more control than being overlooked. Machiavelli understood the psychology of power better than anyone. He didn't just write about kings and princes. He decoded the human ego. And the ego, above all else, wants to feel superior. So give them that. Let them feel smarter, louder, more dominant. Let them talk over you, correct you, laugh at you, nod with fake sympathy. Because while they feed their ego, you feed your advantage. The more they believe you're harmless, the more freely they expose themselves. You're not a threat in their eyes, and that makes you the most dangerous person in the room. Because you're watching. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." He wasn't talking about deception for the sake of lying. He was talking about control, of narrative, of perception, of timing. The truly strategic don't scream their intentions. They move in silence. Not because they're weak, but because the quietest one always sees the most. The overconfident talk. The insecure perform. But the underestimated? They listen. They adapt. They plan. And when they strike, it's never random. It's never emotional. It's surgical. But the power in being underestimated isn't just about surprising others. It's about avoiding resistance. People don't block what they don't see. They don't defend against what they don't take seriously. So while they're competing with the loudest voice in the room, you're bypassing them all. Invisible, patient, prepared. That's how empires fall. Not to armies, but to the quiet ones. No one was watching. There's a reason magicians use distraction. The hand you're watching is never the one doing the trick. The same is true with power. The most dangerous moves are made when no one's paying attention. And Machiavelli knew the best way to hide strength is to look weak. Not pathetic, not broken, just forgettable. Because when people see you as passive, as harmless, they stop watching. And when they stop watching, they stop guarding. You begin to move freely. You learn what matters. You study how the system works. You ask questions no one notices. You watch them slip. Not because you're clever, but because they're careless. They think you're behind. They think you're trying to catch up. But you're not. You're building. Machiavelli taught that power is about timing. Anyone can be loud. Anyone can be bold. But not everyone can be quiet enough to be underestimated. And here's why that matters. People protect themselves against threats, but not against shadows. They don't waste energy fighting what they think is beneath them. That's where you come in. You let them lead. You let them boast. You give them the illusion of control. Because control, like confidence, is a comfort. And comfort always leads to exposure. Sooner or later, they'll show their weakness. And when they do, you won't need to create an opening. They'll hand it to you. The invisible strategy isn't about faking failure. It's about wearing silence like armor. Not reacting, not over-explaining, not proving. Just being overlooked. By design. Because once they label you as less, they stop preparing for more. And that's exactly when the balance of power shifts. Silently. If you understand the power of being unseen, subscribe and hit the bell. Not everyone should know what you're learning. Most people think silence is submission. That if you're not speaking, you're not thinking. If you're not reacting, you're not aware. But Machiavelli would laugh at that. Because silence, used with intent, isn't surrender. It's surveillance. The underestimated don't need the spotlight. They thrive in its absence. While everyone else is performing, defending, competing to be heard, you're watching, studying, calculating. Not because you're unsure, but because you're choosing your moment. That's the part they never see. Because when someone is too quiet for too long, people stop noticing. And once you disappear from their awareness, you're free. You're not being measured, not being watched. And in that freedom, you gain power they've already given away. The power of foresight. Machiavelli believed that the wise never reveal their full hand. That the most dangerous move is the one no one expects. And how do you keep it unexpected? You mask it in stillness. You move slowly. You speak minimally. You train yourself not to react emotionally, not because you don't feel, but because you've mastered the one rule no one teaches. Power is not what you show. Power is what you withhold. The moment you stop feeding people your energy, their control over you weakens. They stop knowing how to read you. They second-guess your intentions. And that uncertainty, that confusion, that's where you start to gain control. Because people fear what they can't predict. And the underestimated are unreadable. Not because they're fake, but because they're intentional. Every move is timed. Every word is placed. Every silence is loaded. And while they waste energy trying to be loud, you're conserving yours for when it matters most. So if this strategy speaks to something deeper in you, subscribe and hit the bell. Not everyone deserves to know what you're learning. There's a moment when being underestimated flips from a disadvantage to an edge. When people not only stop competing with you, they start helping you, unintentionally. They share information they wouldn't reveal to a perceived threat. They let you closer. They get comfortable. And that's when leverage is born. Machiavelli understood this manipulation of perception better than anyone. He knew that when you appear weak or passive, people lower their defenses. They start talking too much, trusting too quickly, assuming you don't understand the rules because you're not playing loudly. But you are. You're just playing smarter. They give you access to their plans, their moves, their assumptions. And slowly, without realizing it, they build their strategy on the belief that you're not a factor. That belief becomes a blind spot, and blind spots always lead to collapse. But here's what most people get wrong. Being underestimated isn't about faking incompetence. It's about selective visibility. You show just enough to remain present, but never enough to be perceived as a threat. You underplay. You downshift. You control how they see you, so you can control what they don't see coming. That is the core of invisible strategy. You're not hiding out of fear, you're hiding on purpose. You don't need validation. You don't need attention. You don't even need credit. You just need position, leverage, timing. And once the moment arrives, the transformation is devastating. Because no one saw it coming. That's why silence is not passivity. It's positioning. Every quiet moment is a step taken while others are standing still, too confident to notice the ground shifting beneath them. By the time they realize it, you're already 10 moves ahead, and they'll call it sudden. But you'll know. It was calculated from the start. People think dominance is loud, aggressive, obvious. But Machiavelli knew that true dominance doesn't announce itself. It waits. It listens. It doesn't enter a room demanding attention. It leaves a room having changed everything, silently. That's the paradox of power. The less you show, the more they assume. And assumptions are dangerous. Not for you, but for them. Because when you're underestimated, you're not just invisible, you're untouchable. No one's preparing for your move. No one's blocking your path. No one's defending the space you're already infiltrating. Machiavelli believed that power is rarely taken by force. It's taken by presence. Quiet, steady, unnoticed, until it's already too late. You don't need to overpower someone who never saw you coming. You don't have to fight when they've already surrendered the moment they stopped paying attention. This is the brilliance of invisibility. While others are busy competing to be heard, you're listening. While they burn energy on performance, you conserve yours for execution. They underestimate you because they don't feel threatened, and that's your advantage. But understand this. This strategy isn't for the weak. It's not for those who need validation, or approval, or applause. It's for the ones who can endure being overlooked, dismissed, forgotten, and still stay focused. Because being underestimated isn't easy. It takes strength to be silent when your ego wants to prove. It takes restraint to watch them win small battles while you prepare for the war. It takes patience to let them write you off, knowing the real story hasn't even started yet. So let them talk. Let them shine. Let them think you're not a threat. Because when you finally move, it won't just surprise them. It'll dismantle everything they built around the illusion that you were never in the game. There's a quiet kind of power that doesn't need permission. It doesn't ask to be seen. It doesn't beg to be respected. It simply is. And when it arrives, it's already too late to resist. This is the end game of being underestimated. No resistance, no warnings, no preparation. They didn't see it coming because they never believed you were coming at all. And when it's done, they won't even know what happened. They'll call it luck, timing, random. But you'll know. You waited. You learned. You chose invisibility over ego, strategy over pride. And now, you win, without ever raising your voice. Machiavelli didn't believe in fairness. He believed in control, not through force, but through misdirection. And if you've mastered the art of appearing passive, unremarkable, harmless, you now hold one of the most dangerous positions of all. You're underestimated, by design. So ask yourself this, and be honest. Are you being overlooked because they're blind? Or because you finally learned how to disappear on purpose? And if that question shook something inside you, you're ready for the next move. Because silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's the sharpest weapon in the hands of someone who knows when to speak and when to let the silence say everything. In the next video, we'll go even deeper. You'll learn how staying silent isn't weakness, it's control. Psychological, social, strategic. When used correctly, silence doesn't just protect your power, it amplifies it. I'll see you there.